Oh, here we go. All right. There we go. We are good to go. Thanks everyone again for your patience. Just a couple updates. So I did hear back from Addie from the Maine Department of Environmental Protections. They are just finishing up their busy season of out in the field and testing and working and stuff like that. So that's coming to a close. She did say that she has reached out to her fellow coworkers about the presentation, and she's just waiting to hear back from them. But she does hope to have it by late or have a date with us in mind by late October, early November. So, and again, just for a reminder, that's for access to the the 604B grant to create the watershed plan, and talking about that process and how to get moving with that. So just another fire going on that we're not fire, but just another action item going on as we go through the fall and winter. So just keep that on the radar, and we should have a nice presentation by them sometime within the next month and a half or so is what I expect.
So Nick, you said that's Patty?
Addie.
Addie from where?
From the Maine Department of Environmental Protections. I can get her last name for you real quick too. Halligan. I've been talking with her since June, so
and it's the Maine Department of what?
Environmental Protections.
Okay.
Yeah, she is, let me see, I have her title here as well. She is an environmental specialist within the Watershed Management Division.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, excellent resource.
And that's for the state.
Yes. And she is going to help present. She is the one also too that was speaking from to our rep from the Androscoggin Valley Soil Conservation group, and coordinating with them. So she will most likely be in our meeting too, I think, that time, but I'll need to confirm that for sure. But it's looking good. It should be a great little presentation on what information they have and potentially how to move forward. So they're excited. They did suggest a couple like people who have been involved in the previous attempts or the previous like work on the pond over the last couple decades and years. Dan, you were on that list, and I made sure to tell her that you are a regular attendee of these meetings. I thought that was funny. And they told us to hook up with the Lake Stewards of Maine, which we already have done. So that's good too. So good stuff all around. Let's see, I haven't heard back yet from the schools about doing any potential presentations there to try to get some younger kids involved or anything like that. But I will follow up with that stuff. Let's see, and just that the next dam commission meeting is scheduled for November 1st, so we won't be meeting that week. But that I believe is in 2 weeks' time, and I'll make sure to talk about that too. So as it gets closer. And honestly, that is all I have for updates right now. I was planning on maybe diving a little bit deeper into getting back into the stakeholder workshop that we had done a couple times back in the past. I didn't get a chance to prep just because of that little delay that I had, but our next week's meeting, I should have that ready to go, and we can kind of dive back into that, especially with the slow season, and really start collecting and moving forward on that part too. So I apologize, but I will have that ready for us next time, and we can dive back into that stuff too. So, and Justin, it looks like you had some great success with the cleanup. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So after our meeting last week, the president of the Wales Ridge Runner Snowmobile Club reached out to me by email, said that they were doing yearly trail maintenance on the railroad bed at the north end of the lake, and they would be willing to participate in our trash cleanup. So they did a little bit of trash cleanup, not only on the trail, but also around the shoreline where the trail enters and exits the lake, depending on which way you're going. They sent me a picture that I posted on our website. The president's name was Roger Plant. He was very excited to help out Sounds like they would be a good resource moving forward in the future for either, cleanups or making them part of our, group and event and stuff like that. The picture that you're showing right now on the screen, that's actually my truck. I cleaned up the side of 126. It bothers me every time I drive by. I did not get to the lakeside because I just ran out of time. It's amazing what people throw out their car windows when they're driving by. Disgusting, actually. I drove by the next day and I saw like 5 pieces of trash out there again. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm hoping to get back and clean up the water side because now that the water's down, there is some trash on the water side as well. So I'm hoping to try to get there this weekend. I don't know how the weather's going to cooperate. Other than that, I haven't had anybody reach out to me from via email or social media. So we'll just see who else participates this weekend. Again, this is the organized weekend, but it doesn't mean that people have to stop and they can continue to pick up trash, probably until it snows, I guess, would be my recommendation. But yeah, no, there was some good, as you can see from the comments, some good feedback and some PR with cleaning up that stuff, especially along that side of the road. I did have a couple people beat their horns and wave to me when they drove by, and I kind of wish like they would stop and help, but they didn't.
Yeah, pull over and help.
But yeah, no, it was good, and we'll see what happens this weekend. A coworker of mine actually used to live on the lake. She doesn't anymore. She told me her and her son are going to come up to where they used to live. They're friends with the people they sold the house to, and they're going to pick up trash. So I thought that was kind of cool. So we'll see what happens moving forward, and just try to get the word out and get more engagement and involvement. So
Good job. Good job. Thank you.
Seriously, excellent stuff. Yeah, thank you very much, Justin. All right. I don't know if any of you did see. Oh, actually, hold on. I can continue sharing my screen because I meant to put this in the updates too. But Sharon from the Walestown office, she added in a section of us on their new website. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was good.
I just wanted to share that and give that a plug. I believe it is in Sabattus Pond, and it has dam commission, which is great, and Sabattus Pond Watershed, which looks like it links to our Facebook page, and yeah, no, it's very nice and excellent. Looks like this is the first place too where the dam commission is at that I've seen, so that's good too. And yeah, I can certainly be in contact with Sharon to potentially maybe add some more copy here and stuff like that, maybe some more information about us. And I can connect that way with her. So I'll add that to mine. We can go from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other, oh, sorry, go for it.
I'll just say the more people involved, the better off we'll be.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's see.
Nick,
Great.
have you heard anything about the core samples they took out of the lake?
You're talking about the one a couple years ago, the ones a couple
I
years
thought
ago?
they just did one a little while ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I could be wrong.
Sorry, what'd you say, Dan?
They did some core samples this summer. My daughter took them out in the boat and took the core samples, and I haven't heard back from her, but this was in early August, I think.
Do you know what organization did that, Dan? Was that she was working as the Lake Stewards of Maine, correct?
My daughter was working as Lake Stewards in Maine, but who they brought out was a girl working on her master's or doctorate, and I'm not sure which. And she brought out a team of them, 3 or 4 of them, that took the core samples and then did their thing. They had to cut them so thick
Mhm.
that it was all technical. My daughter told me about it. It was all technical stuff. But they did take core samples this summer.
Okay. I can certainly reach out to your daughter, Dan, at the Lake Stewards of Maine, just to try to maybe bring whoever that was into the loop or something like that. Or
Sure.
just, yeah,
They were from I believe UMO.
UMO. Okay.
Yeah.
My brother goes to school up there still. Awesome. Justin, go for it.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Just kind of a question for the group, and I know Dan's on here, and he's pretty consistent with these meetings. As far as the Dam Commission, and I know that the last meeting we had was pretty well attended by members of the group. Moving forward, and I know, Nick, you've mentioned this in the past, that they are a quasi public entity with being appointed by select members and town members from the respective towns. Is there a way that we could get the Dam Commission meetings on Zoom like we do here, and possibly recorded for historical and prosperity purposes? And then that way there's no like misinterpretation of what was said or what somebody thinks was said. That, you know, it's kind of an objective overview of being able to watch the meeting and have a recording of the meeting. What would the possibility of that be? I know that we're pretty fortunate on this group where we're all individuals, you know, sitting in front of a computer screen. I'm sure it might be a little more in depth with a U-shaped table with 8 people sitting around and different people talking at once. But I don't know, Dan, what you think of that, or Nick, and other members of the group about having those meetings on Zoom. But I would probably limit them to not taking comments from Zoom, because I know that some municipalities are having a hard time with that in Maine right now, with kind of some negative comments and people calling in on Zoom meetings and stuff. But at least to be able to hear the information that's said and record it so people can watch it afterwards.
Yeah, Dan, you can go. I can speak to the technical aspect of it after.
Yeah, I don't know. I can bring it up, but I just don't know how technically we can do it.
So,
So I know at work we have meetings that we record. You know, it's $30 online to buy a camera that plugs into a USB port that you can set up at the head of the table, and it would record everything. You know, I don't know. Sharon was there last time. I don't know if she's there every night because she has to wait till everybody leaves to lock up the building. You know, but I know the town has a laptop that could access the Wi-Fi and plug in the camera, and have it back at a distance that I could show everybody. And those are pennies on Amazon to buy one of those cameras.
I would agree with Justin. I would think it would, personally, it's just so much more comfortable to participate from the warmth of my home.
there certainly is an increased access when the digital platform in ways, and you know, there is a reduction of barriers too, because you don't have to drive to the location. You don't have to, you know, like we've talked about many times on here, life can be super busy, and sometimes people just barely get home enough in time to make dinner and, you know, go to sleep and start it all over again. Technically, like from an IT perspective, yeah, like it would just be a laptop, just a camera that can record, and access to Wi-Fi. I know the Zoom subscription that I have is $15 a month, and I can record and upload as much meetings as I want. I had, when I was an intern for the town of Sabattus, I had drafted up like a policy to record those meetings, and it was with an OWL camera, which is used in like business and like municipal stuff. If any of you have watched the RSU 4 board meetings, that's what they use. like at the budget meetings and stuff, it'll pan to whoever's talking. It's actually really cool. It's pretty pricey, and you definitely don't need anything that big, I don't think, especially if it's just a small room and you just want to kind of capture just the board essentially, and maybe just a speaker if they want to be seen. But I mean, there are definitely ways to do it. I think, yeah, I think it just comes down to like technical stuff, and like maybe the willingness of the board to adopt it. Because I know there's some, not necessarily with the dam commission specifically, but there is some resistance with that with some elected officials about being recorded, which, yeah. I'm more than happy to share those plans if you all end up by wanting to do that, Dan. I'm not like a voting member of the community in any way. I don't live there. But I would love to watch the meetings if possible. And I honestly think you would find a lot of other people participating as well. I know the RSU has, 40 something people on average for their meetings when they live stream it. And you can disable comments like Justin was saying, so you won't have people coming in and trolling or saying profanity, which does, sometimes happen. And you can also mute people until, they are able to speak. But, just for access to watch the meetings and for information, yeah, I would highly recommend it as an option. But again, I think that's up to Justin. You are a citizen. I would definitely recommend bringing it up at the next meeting if you're able to attend. I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of us on here, we're all citizens, I
Yeah.
know that, we all have a vested interest, but, the more, no knock on the dam commission, and this is me 100% my fault for being at the lake for 10 years and only getting involved in the last year with stuff. The same thing, there's very little information you can find. There's no meeting minutes posted. There's no meeting agendas. I didn't even know when the times for the meetings were until Dan mentioned it this summer in one of our meetings here. I just think more transparency would be better, and especially transparency and community involvement and engagement, especially if the dam commission is going to be asking for close to $500,000 from each town. Hopefully in the spring, if all the stars align. I just think it would be better if more public engagement and having people options to watch meetings and see what's discussed and talked about and know who's on the board and that sort of thing.
And yeah, absolutely. And just a quick shout out to Sharon too. She did put on her new thing with the dam commission, she did put on like when they meet and the time too, which is nice because like I said, I don't think I saw that on any other website before this. So and also too, yeah, just from a public communications perspective, transparency. It's not like I don't think the dam commission is trying to hide anything, but if somebody comes to you and say, hey, why haven't we heard anything about this? You could be like, we've done this, and that. We have recorded meetings. We, have online access and all that stuff. And those are just answers to, that those questions that come up. And it does increase access. Studies have shown that, and does reduce barriers to engagement, which is, important in this world, especially when, I know when I was living in Sabattus, sometimes we struggled with quorums for town meetings. 25 people would decide a budget of like 3.2 million for the whole town. And I know that's that's not like a strange thing nowadays, but I think it's like also I guess a hit at the times that we're at too. Kind of like that adapting to what's going on. And I definitely, when I started these digital meetings and stuff like that, and uploading them on YouTube, like the engagement's there. People are certainly interested. I mean, you can look at the YouTube comments, and I receive emails after the fact from people who watch them and comment on what we talk about and give their ideas too, which is excellent, and their thoughts and opinions and stuff. The engagement's there. I think it's just about, kind of meeting people where they're at in that way, which is an important part of community outreach and engagement in that way too. And especially like with not speaking from the perspective of the dam commission, of course, but that Justin's right, that is a big ask. Especially with the way that the school budget's going right now, at least in Sabattus, Litchfield, and Wales. I mean, that's been turned down multiple times for
Right.
I think
Turn it down again.
yeah, I don't know. I watched the meeting after our meeting last Wednesday, and it was
Maybe she wants to come back.
difficult. Yeah. It seemed to reach a consensus on what to happen next. But I mean, I think that's an indicator of how the wind's blowing. So I think, trying to come out strong with that ask and communicating specific points is an important part of like a smooth process for this. So anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Nick, a couple things. One, how many people more watch this via recording? And two, is the dam commission sending out the minutes of their meetings?
So JD does usually send me the meetings minutes after that, but they need to be approved from the last meeting, so they're a month behind. I do have August, and technically October's wouldn't be approved by the board until
November.
the November meeting. So that's something too. I know at least Sabattus will release their agendas sometimes before the meetings for their select board. I'm a huge proponent of like releasing those as soon as possible before a meeting, and then releasing even the drafted minutes after the fact, which can be done. It's just preference on whatever board or committee is in question. I think I've seen it done many different ways in many different towns, but I know even if you just put at the top, hey, these are drafted minutes, they still need to be approved and they may be subject to small changes or something like that. I've seen that done in other towns in Vermont, and people appreciate at least just access to it, especially like, a lot of the municipalities in Maine don't necessarily, at least the small ones don't necessarily even like record their meetings or have Zoom access in that way. So like sometimes meeting minutes are all that you have to go off of. And it's, if they're a month behind, which it's not like anybody's, it's nobody's fault. It's just the way it's been done. It can sometimes, you're a month behind information, and this type of like communication game, when the information is presented is when you definitely want to try to get it out as quickly as possible. Because I mean, I know you all know as much as I do that stuff gets out of people's minds really quick. So if you find out something happened yesterday, you might be more interested instead of finding out it happened, a month or two ago in that way. I think that's just a lot of human nature, and you can see that with news cycles and stuff like that. But that's just some communication things. But yeah, definitely as soon as possible is the way to go for that stuff, is the rule of thumb, I guess, or the best practice in that way.
Which is different from what's been happening for the last, 20, 30, 40 years. It's been a slow, steady process, as Dan can attribute to. It's not like an instantaneous event or even fix or information. So this would be a major change in terms of the communication.
Yeah, are you saying like having video recordings and Zoom access and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm saying that this is a new frontier for
yeah.
us here in the woods.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think the way technology is now, you can do it relatively cheaply. I mean, provided that
Right.
like the municipalities or something does have a spare laptop. And like I said, the Zoom meeting app or subscription is $15, and then just a semi-decent camera that plugs into USB, and you can kind of just set it up in the middle. I mean, it might not get everybody, but at least it gets the voices, and like what's going on. And you see what I do, I can upload it to YouTube directly right after. It takes about an hour to process, but or it takes about like, on my computer, it takes about like 10 minutes to download or convert to a video, and then I upload it to YouTube either that night or the next day. And it certainly is a new frontier. Definitely not bashing on any municipality or anything like that, but I think changing with the times, I think it's an important addition. It's like another tool in your toolbox,
Right.
and that's just my perspective, but
in defense of the dam commission,
I'm not,
Uh,
yeah.
we are right now dealing with the dam,
Yeah,
the
of course, yeah.
rebuilding of the dam, and I'll tell you, that's gonna be our focus. All the members are volunteers, unpaid. So where does the money come from to set this up? The dam commission?
Well, it's only like $15, right?
A month,
Oh,
and we have a limited budget.
mean-
And buying the camera, the laptop. So I'll bring it up to the dam commission. That's not a problem. And if you've seen the minutes, we've gone to monthly meetings again
Yeah, which is
because
great.
of rebuilding the dam.
And I apologize, Dan. I'm definitely not knocking anybody or anything. Definitely, the reality of the situation is certainly money in that way. I'm just saying it would definitely not hurt at all to have access to that. And I mean, I'm more than willing to type something up and even to go over the phone to walk somebody through a process. And you guys can even use my subscription. I don't care if you want to. I'll give you my login. All you need is a computer and a camera at that point, but I'm just saying from a communication perspective, and like I said, if the RSU budget is any indication about how citizens are feeling, at least in 2 out of the 3 communities that are going to be a part of that ask, it might be an uphill battle to ask for that. And just, something to keep on the radar for sure, because no matter what, that dam does need to be replaced.
Yes.
well, that's how I feel too. It's like I'm really in support of the dam. And so I want to support the dam commission. And I would finance a year's worth of the $15 a month to get it started. If it's going to help the lake and the community overall, just to get it going.
Yep.
My wife and I will buy the camera.
You know,
There
if
you go.
Wales, do you know if Wales has recording for their town meetings? Like the town of Green records and broadcasts their meetings.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if that's already in place in Wales, since that's where the dam commission does their meetings. Maybe it's already there and you
No,
could
it's
just
not.
use what,
It's not there.
oh, it's
They
not,
don't have the capabilities yet.
okay.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean-
only like, what, 5,000 people? How many people are in Wales?
Oh, I think 2 or 3,000.
Yeah. I
15.
think-
Oh, it's 1,500 then. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
not a lot.
I know they
Yeah.
did zoom me in that time that I presented to the Wales Board of Selectmen. So I was able to be zoomed in then. So I don't know if that's anything, but I mean, and all it does is it like one of the 3 municipalities might have a spare laptop lying around or something like that that could be used. And if Wayne and Donna agreed to finance the other aspects of it, there you go, right there. And I can.
My My wife just said, we'll send you a check for $100.
Okay. I think I have a spare laptop.
Yeah.
There you go. Camera.
Camera action.
Okay.
So Dan, if you could just pass it on to the rest of the
I will,
group.
well, Lou's right here. He can hear it too, but
Yeah,
at the
Lou's a
next
member as
meeting,
well.
we'll bring it up.
Okay.
Nick, did JD send you the minutes?
Yeah, for August he did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can post those as well. Yep. Yep.
So Nick, we'd get 8 people here tonight, but on the
Oh,
average,
yes. Yeah.
how many people watch other than live?
Let me pull up the YouTube page real quick and I can show you guys right now.
Because that's convenient too. If you can't make it that night, you watch it the next day or whenever.
Yeah.
They could probably do that at the dam commission as well.
Yeah. I mean, all I did was create a YouTube page. I can do that for the Dam Commission real quick. I just need somebody else's phone number to put on there, but other than that, that's it. Because mine's attached to this one. But let me go. Here we go. I'll share my screen. All right, so this is our YouTube page. This is from my side of it, just the content creation. So you can see last week's was 18, the week before that 29, 24, 43 on this one, 35 a month ago, 24, 39, 28. And I would like to plug two of the boards of selectmen from Wales regularly watch our meeting too. Randy Greenwood and Eric Gagnon too. Yeah.
Wow.
So they regularly watch 11, and you can see as it started out, like, just that first presentation that I did, or that first meeting, 7 views, that first presentation that I did, 12 views, it keeps pittering around there, and then it kind of just explodes in that way. Not explodes, but I mean, it gets higher and more, and some weeks are more than others. I think there's some other behind the scene dynamics that might play into that, but when people have the time, they definitely do watch it. I know I received an email from somebody. I think the first couple weeks that I did this, I was posting them the night before, and then I kind of switched to the next day. And then somebody had reached out to me and said that they watched them out on their night shift, the night that we have the meeting. So but just those habits of people just watching them or listening to them as they're doing other things. I mean, it's just, it all builds just to access to more information and just being more informed in that way, which I never think is a bad thing, especially with public stuff like this. So
Yeah, the possibilities, it's exponential.
yeah, and like the average, Lou, I'd have to calculate it, but I mean, I'd say average is probably close to 20. Yeah, I mean, because we have these bigger ones here, but we also have our earlier ones that are fairly small. But yeah, I'd say recently, 29, 24, 43 for our August 30th one, and then 18 for our most recent one. But I check those probably every couple days, and even a couple of weeks ago, like these will tick up every now and then too. So there's certainly people who learn about it and then kind of get caught up on stuff that's going on too, which is a great thing. I mean, now you're talking like definitely probably close to 15, 16 hours worth of watching, but you can skip around the highlights and stuff. If I had more time, I'd love to like actually dictate and like say where certain things are mentioned and things like that. But maybe in the future, if we get a little bit more official in that way, or I get a little bit more time, we could do those types of things.
Artificial intelligence, that's what you need.
Yeah, no, I think I might be able to run it through something, and they could do a transcript. So, but
So it looks
yeah.
like two to three times people watch it than are live. So that's pretty good.
And we have a pretty good like rolling members that do come to our meetings. So like we of course like have people who are here almost every time, and people who come in every couple meetings, every now and then, stuff like that too. So I'd say we have a solid group of how many do we have on now? We have 8 on now. So I think we've had as high as like 12 on our regular meetings, maybe 12 or 15. And then for that meeting with Bates, we had over 20, I think. So and on the YouTube page does not include that, just because they had access to that. I don't know how many people have viewed that one, but I can certainly find out from them, because that would be interesting too. And that should still be available for a couple, I think. Yeah, we had that meeting in August, is that right? Or September, early September with Bates, so 90 days after. So it should be still available until December, I think. Yeah.
Is there a way to copy it?
So that was one of their stipulations for doing the meeting with us. And I had, emailed with them a couple times and talked to them about it, but that seemed like a sticking point, no fault or anything. That was just their preference. So I don't think it would be, when it gets closer, I might just say, maybe if they could just save it out on their system, just so in case we ever do need access to it, or somebody might want to access it, even for historical reasons. I think it's important too, kind of Justin's point too about these meetings. Like, for my research, I was digging around in paperwork and letters from 50, 60 years ago about this pond, and I wonder if those people who wrote it ever thought that somebody 50, 60 years ago would be using it for a paper for a graduate program.
Sure.
But you never know. So and with all this stuff, especially on the internet and on YouTube, easily accessible, I don't know. So yeah, something cool. But sorry, Lou, did I answer all your questions there?
You did? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
One thing that keeps coming to me, Nick, is, and I don't know the answer to it yet, but it's always in my head. We need to find a way to reach out and touch more people. And I think of things like the opportunities.
Mhm.
The 4th of July parade. They have a boat parade around the lake. And sometimes there's as many as 20-something boats out there with all kinds of people on them. If any way we could corral those people in one area of the lake and talk about the lake and what we're doing, or the fishing derby, where they take time out before the derby and explain how valuable this lake is to your fishing derby, or to, you know what I mean? Just because a lot of people, I talked to my neighbors, I did before I came down here, and some of them, I don't know if they, and I'm not saying this for a fact, but I don't know if they know how to get onto a Zoom, or they know how to get onto YouTube. And I'm probably part of that too, where I don't know how to get on those kinds of things because I'm not a techie person. I'm 70 something years old. No excuse, but I should learn. But just a way to reach out to more people. And because we're all interested in the lake, especially those that live around it for sure.
Mhm.
And those that boat and jet ski and I don't know, a party on the lake to talk about the quality of the lake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things come to my mind.
Absolutely. And honestly, you really touched on a great point, and that's the flip side of the coin about digital access. It does reduce barriers to engagement for a lot of the populations, but it also sometimes increases barriers to engagement for older populations or low income populations that might not have access to the internet or computer to do these types of things. And that's why a combination of both is usually best. And I am far away and I started this far away, so we've kind of defaulted to this platform right here. But I certainly agree that branching out to a more physical medium is important too. And definitely like hosting of events and accessing those events. I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did talk and brainstorm about a couple events that we wanted to target, and the ice fishing derby was one of them.
Yeah.
And I'll add the 4th of July parade to that as well. There's also a resource fair that happens in RSU4 that's pretty popular, hosted by a local nonprofit, Community Cares Backpack Program. And I think this will be their 3rd year doing the resource fair, and that happens sometime in the springtime. So that's certainly something I think we should have a table at, and be there and talk to people and engage. I certainly will be going back home to visit family and stuff like that, and we can certainly try, and I can do that. But if any of you want to set something up, I can at least provide the behind the scenes support, like the copy, the making of this material, and essentially just give it to you as here, print this, be at the table. We can go over talking points, if anything like that too. Anybody listening who wants to kind of engage in that way.
Even the boat to boat, a handout. It's each boat goes by in the boat parade.
Yeah, absolutely.
And something to them. I just, me is, I never would have thought I would have been involved with Sabattus Pond ever, because ever, because I didn't even know it existed up until 10 years ago when I met Jeannie. And now I have this interest in it only because it's so critical to the area, and to just watch it, it's hard. It's hard. It just gets to you, to see it happen.
Yeah. No,
So-
Isn't Pauline involved in the boat parade? If I got that wrong? Pauline, are you involved in the boat parade?
Used to be. I sold my boat.
Yeah, but she's still involved because she waves to everybody as they go by. So the one that sort of leads the parade now is Ken Sharp.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. He's the guy that posts the pictures every morning.
Yes, and it sort of starts right in front of our place, right there at Nason Rock.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's where I am, right on Nason Rock, basically.
Yeah.
And so it starts there, and boats follow in. I mean, it's just another way of reaching out to people around the lake.
Absolutely. And in like this is our like first year of doing this. We're
Yeah.
on month we started, I think, in June, I think is when we really first had our first meeting. So I mean, like this is all, I know it's all a process, and like so far we're collecting information, we're connecting people, we're connecting groups, and like having these brainstorming sessions and talking about this stuff at these meetings is exactly what this early phase is all about. Like really just having these thoughts and like putting them into action and stuff like that. It certainly is a process.
But we're doing it like a fireside chat.
Yeah.
Wow.
FDR, move over. Yeah, I mean, we're able to communicate like this, but fireside.
But the
Yeah.
interest is picking up and participation seems to be improving. And we got a lot to thank you for that, Nick. You've got this
Yeah.
ball rolling and you continue.
Absolutely.
You don't even live here and you're still doing it. So
I spent like 20 years there, but yeah.
still,
Kudos to you.
you got it.
I just care about my home community. That's all it's been. And honestly, like I'm just one person. You guys have done a lot more with the connections and the participation and the engagement. And that's equally, if not even more important. I mean, just no, not one person can do this alone. I mean, I know I talked about that early in the beginning, but we are all in this together in that way.
We got to get the youngsters involved.
I know I'm trying to get into the schools. And I know it's a weird thing to say, but I just need to. I want to get some like younger engagement, like high school kids involved, and like, because it's even more critical for them and their future and stuff. But Justin, go for it.
Yeah, just a question for some of us younger folks on here. What's a fireside chat?
What FDR used to do.
I'm totally kidding. I actually know what that is.
Oh, no, it's good to explain probably for the videos if anybody does watch after.
If young people don't know what that is, they can use this magical thing called Google.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt used to speak to the country through a fireside chat through the radio, and that was like new technology, and it was very influential and effective. So, I mean, Nick is like the
I wonder what
FDR.
Sirius channel that was. No, I know. We've had some good conversation tonight, Nick, and I feel frustrated that I kind of seem to lead us down this path of like recording the damn commission meetings and then just going in when it seems like the past few weeks you've wanted to touch on the stakeholder group. I don't know if we want to circle back to that and talk about that a little bit before we wrap up the meeting. And I'm not sure on that note if we had the snowmobile club as part of a stakeholder, but with their willingness to help out and be a part of the group moving forward, I think we should definitely add them to the stakeholder group for the lake.
Absolutely, yeah. I
Well,
have
you have 3 snowmobile clubs
yeah.
around the lake. I mean, each town has one.
I have I think the Sabattus Mountaineers Club on their existing now, and of course, like that's a working document, so certainly add to it. But yeah, no, it's an excellent point, and please, no worries. Like I still needed to prep a little bit for that one, so I don't think we were going to touch upon that tonight, but I would like to touch upon it next week if everybody's got the time. So we can kind of at like 6:30 ish, we can kind of stop and get started on that. and kind of pick up where we left off. I just needed to review my notes. I have not looked at it in a couple weeks, so that's why I was going to do that before the meeting tonight. But I literally got home like 5 minutes before I started it. But yeah, no, great conversation. Seriously, with the dam commission in the recording, it's a great question. I mean, the same thing to the municipalities too. It's just more information out there, you know. I can't plug that enough, honestly, from a public comms perspective. But anything else before we close up shop tonight? I apologize for the shorter than normal meeting, but
Well, one of the things, just as a little sidebar thing, I fish while I'm down here when I can, right? And so my wife and I went to this little park down here in town. It's a freshwater, small little pond. So I asked the guy about fishing. Oh, he says there's all kinds of fish in this pond, big, huge catfish and tilapia. So I said, well, tilapia is pretty good eating fish, you know. So, and I started to research on them, and I think, and I'll have to do my research again, but I think tilapia eat algae. So I said, wow. I said, wow, that's pretty good. He says, and the guy told me, he said, yeah, they have a problem in this little pond. They call it water cabbage.
Something like that.
Something like
Water lettuce.
it's wild lettuce. It
Like
takes over.
water lettuce.
It takes.
Yeah.
It's on
Yeah,
the-
it's all over the freshwater ponds.
Yes, but he said. So I said, come home. So I started researching, and unfortunately, tilapia can't live if the water temperature drops below 55.
yeah, that wouldn't last long in Maine. But
But it's interesting. They eat algae. I thought.
yeah, and it's that type of like brainstorming that's super important for all of us to like consider. That actually brings up a great point. I was at an event for my job this week at a place in Philadelphia that like deals with the history of the water department and stuff like that. It was really great, super interesting. But they also had a presentation on mollusks and how they help clean out phytoplankton from the water. You know, certainly not, I'm not suggesting that's what needs to happen. I'm just saying, like, I get emails sometimes from people who send me like devices to help clean out the lake and things like that. So
Well,
They call them zebra mussels.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, those are invasive,
They
and
are.
Yeah.
right now the state is watching in Canada
Yeah.
because the zebra mussels are that close.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
either Quebec or New Brunswick. I'm not sure, but I think they're close to the St. John River,
Okay.
and the state is concerned about zebra mussels.
Yeah.
But they clean up the lake. They filter the water.
They
Yeah.
do. I just want to reiterate, I am not advocating for anything of the sort. You know, it was just something cool that I watched. Certainly, I need to do more research on it because I did not realize they were invasive species. So they
Oh,
are
and
quite
if you
prevalent down here in the rivers. But yeah.
If you remember when we were, I don't know about you, when I was a kid, my mom and dad got me an aquarium. And one of the things we used to buy was algae eaters.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They would suck, you know, the side of your tank and just clean the algae off your tank.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those, I think I used to call them little sucker fishes, or there's probably a better name for that. But
I read about grass carp is what they call them.
Oh,
And people said you'd be mowing your lawn, the grass would go into the water, and these grass carp would be following the lawnmower trying to eat up the grass.
that's
wow,
fun.
But
okay.
they're invasive.
Yeah, a lot of them are to live waters. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the long run, a lot of times invasive species are not a good thing for environments. So,
I know.
yeah.
It's like what's natural in the lake is zooplankton.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the alewives eat them.
Wow.
See,
Which gives more room for the phytoplankton to grow,
That's right. The phytoplankton to grow.
because they
Yep.
compete for the same resources.
Right.
yep. That's why we don't need them there.
No. I agree.
Good
It
meeting.
doesn't really seem like the fish ladder is going to be something you all are asking for in the towns, though, Dan, is that right? Or too early to
For
tell?
the money we are asking for, we're gonna be asking for, is to rebuild the dam. If the DMR wants a fish ladder, they can pay for it.
If they do come up with the money, would
Yeah.
there ever be a situation where we would not accept that fish ladder?
Yes,
Okay,
Shouldn't it be a vote? No,
probably.
there will be a vote.
good, yeah, but it's all in the pockets of the town, so they're gonna do it, so, anyway, that's just me.
No, the towns don't necessarily want the fish ladder either.
Oh, good.
What is Tom doing?
Oh, I think you're muted, Tom.
You're muted, Tom.
That's a
Great white we caught offshore.
Oh, very
that's a
cool.
great white, really?
Offshore of Sabattus Lake.
200 miles off the coast.
An invasive species.
I
Yeah.
thought it
That's
was from a
fish,
big
I think,
pike.
different.
Yeah.
It's just a hungry species.
Pike.
You're
the
all
pike
ready for
were-
Halloween.
The pike were illegally introduced to Sabattus in the 90s or something, right? Is that right?
Yes.
I read
Another
that.
invasive species.
In the 90s, no. I think
Oh.
in the 2000, somewhere in there.
They sure have survived.
Oh,
they've
they have.
flourished. They've flourished.
Right.
And that's,
But-
I mean, now the Derby happens because of that. They're big sport fish in that way. Yeah. So that's the
Except-
social aspect
Yeah.
of the environment.
Early on, when they were first introduced, they got big. But now they're turning in, you're getting mostly what IF&W calls hammer handles. Long, skinny, 24, 26-inch long. Because they don't have the feed, they eat everything and they eat themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Aren't they overfished? Isn't it because of overfishing, especially the
Uh,
Derby?
the Derby, from the fishermen I've talked to, the Derby kills the fishing for the summer
Right.
because everybody's catching pike, but they're also catching perch and bass and everything else. And most of them turn into eagle food.
Right. So the
So-
big fish are being caught at the Derby, and so come time for the summer fishing, that's why you're getting the smaller fish, isn't that right?
Yeah, there's fewer fish,
Fewer and smaller.
fewer and smaller.
Yeah, that's what the game warden told me the other day. The day he stopped at my dock, he said they're fishing all the big ones.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to know the ratio of like other types of fish that get pulled up during that Derby too. You know what I mean? For like every 10 pike. they
white
pull up.
perch, yellow perch, bass. Well, now crappie, which is another invasive fish someone decided to put in, the black crappies. The pickerel are non-existent anymore.
Right.
Is there
Because
still-
the pike have taken over.
Is there still bass in there?
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, and you can even catch bass with pike battle marks.
Yeah.
Or
What they-
battle scars.
What they should do is they should have a law that says that anything other than pike is catch and release.
Even pike should be catch and release. But they're using big bait for the Derby, so they're gonna catch pike.
Yeah.
Use big fish, you're gonna catch big fish.
Yeah.
That's why they're not catching as much perch and bass, because they're going for the big boys. That's the
Yeah.
price.
Yeah.
So they're depleting our fishery a little bit.
An invasive fishery. When they first found the pike in here, the wardens were telling all the fishermen, catch a pike, kill it,
Kill it, right?
to keep the numbers down. They were hoping to eradicate them. because an invasive species is usually not good for a lake or anything.
Yeah.
And honestly, now after what, like 20 something years of them being in there, their, you know,
Yeah.
their removal from that would even change the ecosystem too, in a way. But
Oh, it would.
yeah,
It would, because they changed the ecosystem themselves.
Hmm.
Like I said, they removed the pickerel.
all right. Had great conversation. Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
I guess not.
Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. I do have an event I have to attend next Wednesday night. So does next Thursday work? I was planning on setting it up for next Thursday evening. That is the 26th.
Great.
Yep.
This is
What-
again, I'm just getting,
You're the boss.
hang on a minute.
No, if it works, that's good. So if anybody does want to host a meeting after at a time I can, please feel free. Like I said, I'll give you my login or anything like that. So but
Doing a good job. Thank you.
yeah, of course. Great to see everybody again, and I will post this tonight. So I'll send out the email. Thanks. I'll see you all
Thanks,
next
Nick.
week.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Nick.
Nick.
Thanks, Nick. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.